Hi folks, welcome to this video on Macbeth Act 3 Scene 1. We're entering a new phase of the play here where Macbeth has gained the golden rind, he has been crowned King of Scotland. However, he's really concerned that he might lose his grip on that crown, and he's particularly concerned because Banquo has also had a prophecy from the witches. Now, this is a complex scene that we're going to look at, and there are lots of things in this scene that build on references or mentions of things that have happened earlier on in the play. So what I want you to do is to do lots of knowledge checks as we go through. And if there's anything in the knowledge checks that you don't know or that you're not sure about, you're not confident in, you need to turn that into flashcards, write the question on the front, the answer on the back, and then learn that information. Okay, so here's your first knowledge check. Stop the video, answer the questions, start the video again when you're ready. Right, number one, fair is foul and foul is fair. This is a quotation from the Witches from Act 1, Scene 1. Now stop the video again, just on that number one, and think, what did this quotation mean when we heard it earlier on? Okay, so fair means good, foul means bad or corrupt or evil. So what the witches were saying is that things that might look good are actually corrupt and evil underneath, like Macbeth himself. The second one, the prophecy for Banquo, is that he is father to a line of kings. A soliloquy is a speech where a character speaks to themselves. Why does Shakespeare use soliloquies? Well, this is to give the audience an insight into the character's mind. And here at the start of this scene, Banquo enters and we have his soliloquy first. So he starts by saying, "Thou hast it now, King Cawdor glams all, as the weird woman promised, and I fear thou played most vilely for it. Yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush, no more." So Banquo speaking first, and he reflects on the prophecies that the witches have given him and Macbeth. And this reflection prompts two thoughts. So the first one is about Macbeth. He knows that Macbeth is now Thane of Glamis, Thane of Cawdor, King of Scotland, so the prophecies have come true. But Banquo echoes that word from the witches here. I fear thou played most vilely for it. Now, a modern kind of translation of this might be that he thinks Macbeth has played dirty to get the crown. He's cheated, he's committed murder, he's done something pretty wrong, pretty heinous in order to become King of Scotland. So Banquo is dangerous because he has suspicions about Macbeth. Then the second thing that Banquo is thinking about is the fact that the witches said that he would be father to a line of kings. So the third line, it was said it should not stand in thy posterity. So posterity means legacy, it's what you leave behind. And we know that Macbeth doesn't have any children to pass his legacy on to or to leave the crown to. So it's not going to be his legacy, but instead it's Banquo who will be the root and father of many kings. Now that image of the root is a really nice one. It suggests a kind of family tree that he's imagining here, and that suggests growth, development, strength, and also how natural it is for his children to take the throne. We've seen earlier in the play that Duncan is associated with natural imagery. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back and check out the videos for Act 1, Scene 4. So there's also a sense of naturalness associated here with Banquo's children being kings. And that's appropriate because we know that King James I, who was the king at the time the play was written, believed that Banquo was his ancestor. So actually, father of many kings, well, one of those is supposed to be King James I. Then Banquo continues, and he says that the witches might have set him up in hope. Macbeth has had that hope that his ambitions will come true, and that's happened. And now Banquo is thinking, well, this is going to happen for me as well. So he's dangerous for a second reason too, that his children might take the throne from Macbeth. Now Banquo's quiet at the end of the soliloquy. He knows someone is coming, so he's got to be quiet at this point, just to make sure that no one hears his plans. Okay, quick task for you. Stop the video, write down what you think the highlighted quotations mean, and then start the video again when you're ready. Okay, so here's my answers. You can just stop the video again and check them against yours. Obviously, your wording will be a bit different, and that is absolutely fine. Just look and see if the idea is the same. Let's get into the scene itself then a little bit more. So at the end of Banquo's soliloquy, a senate sounds. Now this is a fancy kind of trumpet, and we know earlier in the play that every time Duncan as King of Scotland comes on stage, the trumpet sound and he's surrounded by lots of servants and attendants. And these two details in the staging of the play emphasise Duncan's power, his authority, his rightfulness as king. And this time the trumpets are sounding for Macbeth, and he's entering with a lot of people surrounding him as well. Lady Macbeth, Lennox, Ross, lords and attendants. So there's a huge number of people coming into the stage with Macbeth. This is him showing off his power, showing off his authority, and the fact that he has the crown. There's a real juxtaposition here with Banquo, who's standing alone on stage. So think about how that might work visually. Okay, another knowledge check for you before we read a little bit more. How did Lady Macbeth behave towards Duncan when he first arrived at the castle, which was shortly before he was murdered? Okay, this is Act 1, Scene 6 if you want to know. So stop the video, have a quick think about that, start the video again when you're ready. Right, there's a key quotation that we know from Act 1 when Lady Macbeth says, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it, as in look loyal, look like you're following the king, look like you're patriotic towards him, but underneath be corrupt. And this is the facade that Lady Macbeth puts on when she first meets Duncan in Act 1, Scene 6. She says, all of our service, like anything I can do for you, I will do that. I'm really loyal to you. She says, your servants ever, so she will serve him, she will bow down to him, etc., etc. So she looks like the innocent flower, but she's underneath that being the serpent because she's planning Duncan's murder. And this is pretty similar to the tactic that Macbeth is about to use with Banquo. So Shakespeare is giving us some hints that Macbeth is about to betray Banquo in the same way as Lady Macbeth betrayed Duncan earlier on in the play. So Macbeth starts off by flattering Banquo. Here is our chief guest. Here is the most important person who's going to attend our feast later on. And Lady Macbeth picks up on this and continues, if he had been forgotten, it had been as a great gap in our great feast, and all thing unbecoming. So she says, yeah, absolutely, this is the most important guest at our feast. And Macbeth tells Banquo what he's talking about. He says, tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence. Banquo says, let your highness command upon me, to the which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit. So Macbeth invites Banquo to the feast, and Banquo says, absolutely, of course, I will come along to that. Now it starts to get a little bit more tense because Macbeth starts asking really specific questions of Banquo about where he's going, who he's going with, and how long he's going to be. So Macbeth says, ride you this afternoon, as in, are you taking your horses out? Banquo says, aye, my good lord. So Banquo's response is kind of cagey, it's quite evasive. He's not clearly answering Macbeth's question with a lot of detail. So perhaps he's starting to realise that something is up here that he's got to protect himself from Macbeth. And Macbeth says, oh, we should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous in this day's council, but we'll take tomorrow. So Macbeth saying, well, that's a shame. He wanted Banquo to be at the council, at the discussion of how they're going to run their country, how the government's going to work. He says, but it doesn't matter. We can talk about that tomorrow. And then he says, is it far you ride? So another question about Banquo's whereabouts. Banquo, as far, my lord, as was fill up the time twixt this and supper. So he doesn't say, I'm going to ride to this place and it's going to take me 2 hours and then I'm going to ride back. He kind of fluffs his answer a little bit and he's quite vague and evasive in what he says. He says, go not my horse the better, I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain. So he's going so far that it might be dark by the time he gets back. And Macbeth says, fail not our feast, as in, you must come to our feast tonight. Banquo promises him, my lord, I will not. Macbeth then changes the topic and starts talking about Malcolm and Donalbain. We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and in Ireland, not confessing their cruel parricide, filling their hearers with strange invention, but of that tomorrow. When therewithal we shall have the cause of state craving us jointly. Hie you to horse, adieu, till you return tonight. Goes Fleance with you? So again, another question from Macbeth asking who's going to be with them. Now, this is a really important question because we know that Macbeth wants to kill not just Banquo, but also to get rid of his son Fleance as well, so that he cannot take the crown. And Banquo says, "Aye, my good lord, our time does call upon us," as in, I've got to get going. Let me go here. Macbeth says, "I wish your horses swift and sure of foot, and so do I commend you to their backs. Farewell." Exit Banquo. Macbeth turns to everyone else. "Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night to make society the sweeter welcome. We will keep ourselves till supper time alone. While then, God be with you." So Macbeth says he wants to be alone, and he tells everyone else, including his wife, to leave him. Now that's interesting because when they were planning the murder of Duncan, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth were together. There was lots of conversation, lots of discussion between them about how that was going to work. But now that he's planning the murder of Banquo, he's cutting Lady Macbeth out of the situation. So my next pause point for you, how has the relationship between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth changed? Think about what it was like in Acts 1 and 2. Think about what the relationship is like here, and then start the video again when you've done that. Right, here's some thoughts for me. You might have lots of other things as well. Acts 1 and 2, they're emotionally close. Macbeth relies on his wife. He calls her her dearest partner in greatness. Lady Macbeth dominates, commands her husband. "When you durst do it, then you are a man." She's pushing him into the murder. But in Act 3, Macbeth is starting to dominate. He's starting to take command. Look how much he speaks in Act 3, Scene 1, and look how little Lady Macbeth speaks. And we see that he's deliberately isolating himself from his wife. Okay, another quick knowledge check then that we need for looking at the next part of the scene. So in Act 1, Scene 7, Macbeth gave a soliloquy exploring the reasons why he should not kill King Duncan. What reasons did he give? And I've put the section of the relevant scene on the screen here to help you. So stop the video, write down all the reasons that Macbeth gives for not killing Duncan, and then start the video again when you're ready. Okay, here's the reasons. Kinsmen, so Macbeth and Duncan are related. You should not kill your relatives. Subject, Duncan is his king. The subject should be loyal to their king. Host, so this is the person who welcomes someone into their home. Well, a host should not be going around killing their guests. And then Duncan is meek, which is a real positive. He's kind of quiet, he's calm, he's a good leader. So clear in his great office, his virtues will plead like angels. Like Duncan is such a good king that even, he seems almost angelic in his kingship. Now Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 7 give all of these as reasons that he shouldn't kill King Duncan, and then Lady Macbeth went and pushed him into it. Now, in Act 3, Scene 1, Macbeth's about to do something really similar. He's going to consider all of Banquo's good qualities, but this time there are reasons to proceed with the murder. So the final servant is just leaving the room, and Macbeth says, "Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men our pleasure." As in, there are people here to see me. Are they ready? The servant says, "They are, my lord, without the palace gate." Macbeth, "Bring them before us." So the servant goes to get these strange visitors who are going to meet with Macbeth. And now we have Macbeth's soliloquy, and he says, "To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. Our fears in Banquo stick deep." So we've started the scene with Banquo being suspicious of Macbeth and then thinking, actually, I'd quite like my sons to be king. And then now Macbeth is kind of picking up on this and saying that he's afraid of Banquo. And then in green, we have all of the reasons why Macbeth is afraid of him. He talks about Banquo's royalty of nature. Now that means that Banquo has all of the qualities that a good king should have. He's probably courageous, brave, a good leader, respected, admirable, honest, loyal to his country, etc., etc. So his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind. So dauntless means unafraid. We know that Banquo is courageous. He hath a wisdom that doth guide his valour to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked. So Banquo is like a royal, like a king. He's dauntless, so he's fearless, he has wisdom, and also under him my genius is rebuked. So Macbeth feels that Banquo is superior to him. And Macbeth continues, as it said, Mark Antony's was by Caesar. He chid the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren sceptre in my grip, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. Right, feel the bitterness in what Macbeth says here. The fruitless crown. Well, he's got the crown of Scotland, but he's got no fruit. Now, we've had earlier in the scene the image of Banquo being the root of the tree. The fruit of the tree are the children. So if you imagine like an apple being the child of the tree, whatever. And Macbeth is saying he is fruitless. He has no children. A barren sceptre. Well, barren means that nothing can grow. So again, we've got an image of Macbeth not having children. The sceptre is a symbol of kingship. So a king would normally have a crown and a sceptre, which is like a fancy looking stick. Sorry to any monarchists out there. And an orb, which is like a ball. So if you look at a picture of a king online, if you look at King Charles's coronation, for example, he's got the crown in his head, the sceptre on one hand, and the orb in the other. And he says, this is going to be rent, it's going to be pulled away from me, no son of mine succeeding. So his sons are not going to be king. If it be so, for Banquo's issue I have filed my mind. So issue means children. So Banquo's children I have filed, I have ruined, corrupted, destroyed my mind with guilt. For them the gracious Duncan have I murdered, put rancors in the vessel of my peace only for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man, to make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings. Rather than so come fate into the list and champion me to the utterance. Who's there? Okay, so that line that I've just explained, for Banquo's issue I have filed my mind. Pause the video, write an explanation of it, start the video again when you're ready. Here we go. Macbeth has filed or corrupted his mind by murdering King Duncan. He is now tormented with guilt. His distress is amplified by the realization that he hasn't done this for his own family, but for Banquo's sons. Right, another little knowledge check for you then. What insults did Lady Macbeth use to motivate her husband to commit regicide? Stop the video, jot down what you think the insult is, start the video again when you're ready. Right, hopefully you've put something about Macbeth's masculinity. Even more hopefully, you've got the quotation, when you durst do it, then you were a man. She wants her husband to prove his masculinity to her by killing King Duncan. So Macbeth is going to flip this, and he's going to use this insult about masculinity against the murderers. So the servant comes in, brings the two murderers in, and Macbeth starts to talk to them about Banquo. He tells them Banquo was their enemy and that they need to kill him and kill Fleance. And you can see here in yellow, I've picked out the insults that Macbeth used. And he says in the first one, in the catalogue you go for men, as in you appear to be men, you're pretending to be men, but are you going to prove yourself by killing Banquo and Fleance? And then the second bit of yellow, in the worst rank of manhood, you're the worst possible men I have ever seen. So just like Lady Macbeth, you use that insult around masculinity, Macbeth is now doing that to the murderers to try and get them to kill Banquo. At the end of this section then, the last yellow bit, you can see that Macbeth is thinking about Banquo's death. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight. Now, this is an echo of Act 2, Scene 1, just before Macbeth kills King Duncan, where he imagines the knell, or he hears the knell, the bell, that is sending Duncan's soul to heaven or to hell. So we have this kind of parallel quotation that tells us that a murder is about to happen. Okay, so this is a scene with two major turning points. First of all, Macbeth is ordering someone else to commit the murder. And also Macbeth is ordering the murder of a child, Fleance. So when you stop the video and jot down a couple of things, what do these details suggest about Macbeth's character? And then start the video again when you're ready. So Macbeth is ordering someone else to commit the murder. He committed the murder in Act 2, Scene 1, Act 2, Scene 2, and now he's got some hired murderers in to do it for him. Does this tell us that Macbeth was so traumatized by murdering Duncan that he can't go through it again? Perhaps it's because he's been so close and friendly with Banquo that he doesn't think he could murder his best friend. Maybe he could murder his cousin and his king because there's a bit of distance there, but he cannot face murdering his friend. Perhaps he is actually a coward. Perhaps he is actually full of the milk of human kindness and he really doesn't want to commit murder again, and Lady Macbeth isn't here to push him into it. Now, the second point, Macbeth is ordering the murder of a child, and he's going to go on to kill more children, or sorry, order the murders of more children in Act 4. But this is a real turning point because Fleance, as a child, is innocent. It's not his fault that this prophecy has been made to his dad about him. And so we have here a real sense of Macbeth's growing evil and also a real sense of his growing desperation that he's prepared to murder an innocent child in order to get the throne. Okay, thanks for sticking with that. It's a long video. In the next video, we're going to talk about the next scene.